that's what it is, as it is. The pain has kind of calmed down quite a bit, especially once they trimmed the threads, but I'm still tender in like 2 spots.
Yeah.
But this is the best I've sounded in like 7 days.
Yeah.
So I still sound hilarious to myself though, because I can hear the lack of teeth.
Right. Well, I am glad you are feeling better.
But there was so the medicine mix-up reminded me of you guys though.
Medicine mix-up?
I was supposed to get, I think, tramadol or something like that the night before my surgery. And they didn't tell me that they had called it in. So I get there and she's like, so where's the other pill? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, you didn't get your tramadol? And I'm like, no. She said, oh, that's why you're not sedate. I'm like, what? So he goes, well, the thing is, so we can do this one of 2 ways. We can reschedule you so that you can get it on board, or you can do this with just the nitrous. I'm like, fuck it, let's just go with just the nitrous. She said, are you sure? I'm like, don't talk me out of this, let's go. So get through that whole situation, and then afterwards, apparently they were supposed to call in my amoxicillin and some sort of mouthwash.
Right.
And because most of everything was being paid for out of pocket because they don't take my Medicaid, the same thing happened with the meds. So my friend was to go get my meds, and they're like, we couldn't fill them because the doctor that prescribed them is not on her HMO. You can pay for it out of pocket, but that'll mess with her Medicaid, so we don't know what to do. So I had to call my doctor's office and be like, hey, I just had dental surgery. This is what the doctor prescribed. Could you re-prescribe it? And they re-prescribed it, called it in, and then I had to go pick it up.
Yes, the classic nut.
The wonderful in-network and out-of-network doctors scenario.
In Ohio,
the world was a better place before insurance companies.
In Ohio, Medicaid just can't changed over to a one single processor instead of the 2 or 3 that we had before, and it's just been a disaster.
Transitions like that are always a disaster.
And like we have some cancer patients who are on, chronic pain meds that have been out of their meds for a week, but they're not doing a prior authorization because the doctors they see aren't paneled with them. And what was the other one? It was, this is a first-time user. They can't have this much. And like, they have been on it for years. They just never had it through you.
Oh, but they won't take your word for it. They have to hear it from the doctor.
Exactly. So, yeah.
It's like, I literally have a complete record of every single prescription they have gotten for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, but we don't believe you guys. We want to hear it from the doctor that they've been using it for the last 2 years.
And then one of them was the weirdest rejection I've ever seen. It's like, pharmacy DEA not on file. I'm sorry?
That's an interesting one.
Right?
Hey, like, how do you guys not have our DEA on file? Like, that's the concerning.
Yeah, and just like I don't.
Alright. I'm sure nobody would like to get this going.
I think we're going too far into the pharmacy talk.
Right.
Hello, everyone.
Hi guys, how we doing?
On unrelated pharmacy news, I got word Monday that I have my field placement assignment for my internships.
Hooray.
And it was my first pick at the VA.
Well, congratulations.
Nice.
Government job in my future, hopefully.
Gotta get those government benefits.
Right?
Well, good luck. Well wishes. Give me one quick second. I'm going to renegotiate a bite to drink and some pain pills. What's that?
Pain pills.
No, don't start this again.
Too late. Someone said the words.
I ran out of pain pills.
I stuck the honey medication thingy in the outer carriage.
I'm sorry, I missed what that you said. What was that?
I said I stuck the funny medication thingy in the attic area.
The comedic Cody on TikTok.
Yes, I've seen that.
Sorry about that, folks. Long couple of days. And I'm so glad you guys are all here. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the highlights of my week. So, before diving in, questions, suggestions, hypotheses, corners we might need to round off?
Took care of all mine earlier.
I think I discussed the scene I had in mind with you, so I think we should be good.
All right, sounds like a plan. So everyone remembers where we were, which is always a good thing. So before diving in completely, fully immersing ourselves in where the characters are, I'd like to offer my thanks. Simple, sweet, to the point. My thanks for your time, your efforts, your energies, and all of the memories and happenstances and foibles that we've survived with these characters. Play means a lot, and I thank you for the opportunity. Eternally so. And without much further ado, I'd like to say that this lovely moment that we share is officially Soup City Sins Season 17 Finale. Experts of Efficiency. When we last left our coterie members, they were unlike their usual happenstances. Instead of being alone together, caught in the midst of all the many bouncing, vibrant thoughts in their heads, they were alone separately. Hestia and Miriam at the Coterie's Haven, at the shelter, at the Harsborough shelter, which for the last few years has been a beacon of trust, sanctuary, and community for the homeless, transient, outcast members of society, either by choice or by force, by circumstance or plot. They ended up on the outside of what average, expected society is. They're not living hand to mouth. They're not living check to check. They are existing upon the kindness and expert skill of the volunteers and staff members of the Harrisville shelter. They have experienced horrors and worse. And then they found a semblance of home. They found a semblance of community. And the shelter, coterie, having taken its name from such, having been called such, has used this as their place of power, because it is in fact a place of power. They have yet to own it completely. They've had minor instances throughout the career of them existing where they've become more in touch with this place of power, yet has never truly attuned to it. They've never truly paid the cost to take full ownership, and not this sort of cost that you pay every 30 or so days, not rent, but the full outright cost of attunement, the sacrifice of one thing of equal value so that you might gain the power therein. And the closest they've come, most recently, is the sacrifice of Miriam's skill, the sacrifice of Miriam's ghost, the sacrifice of Miriam's incidental haunting, the spirit of, well, Nash's child, who refused to give way. But in that sacrifice of all of that, hope, something else has taken its place. Because while the value is high, personally, it's not of a significant value enough to trade for the full power and control of the shelter. Those realizations for Hestia, there's another huge drop sit there on the tip of her tongue, as yes, it was a value, yes, it was an extreme cost to Miriam, yet this place, the shelter itself, has existed in one shape, fashion, or form for centuries. There are still fleeting moments and memories of other strong-willed denizens who've existed here. The whispers and tremors of their lives, now gone, flit through the consciousness from time to time. You're occasionally able to tap into those memories and those moments, which means a personal cost of such a high value grants what it granted: a doorway, an incidental protection. But by whom and from what is the question of the night, or the remainder of the night. While less than 26 minutes from where Miriam and Hestia are, Lucio is at the Admiral, another great survivor in Chicago's history. The Admiral has existed as a theater of various stripes and various iterations for years. Even when it is at its lowest point, there is some indefatigable sense of survival. It hangs on by tooth and nail. It fights to exist, oftentimes at huge cost to the community around it, oftentimes at huge cost to those who choose to work within it, and oftentimes at cost unforeseen immediately. It was one of the many central hubs for a drug trafficking network that rocked the entirety of the northwestern portion of Chicago several times over, from its bootlegging days to now. It has always existed on the cusp of doing something very, very bad to the community around it to remain in existence. And Lucio sits with the fetter, with the coin, implanting it so that Blue might take up residence, seeking the opportunity to, well, keep his word. Speaking of deals and arrangements, all too close to the shelter, and far enough to be of usual no concern. A place that has fallen into the background for most of the denizens of Rogers Park. St. Jerome's Church is a pillar of the community. It is a place that, much like the shelter, has offered hope and occasionally a hot meal. It has become the place that, unlike the vast majority of churches, actually offers sanctuary. But as is the case in Chicago, there is always a cost to doing business. St. Jerome's is the unofficial hub for the Hecata in Chicago. While they have their tendrils and connections throughout many other aspects of the city, namely the medical center, namely several funeral parlors and various instances and various businesses associated with them throughout the city. Several towing companies, and well, it's a whole conglomerate of places and businesses. But St. Jerome's has always been the capital city of the Hecata Nation here in Chicago. Sophia, using a contact that she didn't realize was more than it seemed, is now in the midst of preparing a ritual to properly attune to St. Jerome's. She is, in effect, stealing the throne from the would-be pater, Zal, who's already flexed her muscle one time this evening. While word spreads fast, and while the lie may go around the world faster than the truth can put on the shoes in the morning, there's still time where there's the opportunity to snatch every victory from any semblance of defeat. Until we pick up. Yeah. It's an eat or eat situation. It always is. It is the greatest predator will eventually be eaten by another predator, which will in turn be eaten. It's a cycle. It's a very vicious cycle. And sitting here in all this flesh, well, potentialities of flesh more likely, because there are still certain places down here where you could sneak away with one of the dancers. There's certain places where you can sneak away and do several lines or take a unaccounted for belt of whatever your poison of choice is. But as you hold the coin, the truth of the matter is, it is in fact a eat or be eaten situation. What you're preparing to do, the coterie has shied away from, because there's a cost for doing such things. There's a very real cost, and the question is, will Lucio be willing to pay that cost? In truth.
So, holding the coin in his hand, flipping it around a few times, contemplating what exactly he's about to do, Lucio says aloud to Blue, "So, Blue, I just want to clarify something before we do this. You told me we just have to spray the blood on the coin, right? Is that all? Or do they have to die in the process?"
Well, why you trying to look at the fine print? It's far easier to just think about it as blood and call it a day. Hell, you've drunken more than half the Chicago River in your little time being dead. How far are you willing to go? How long are you willing to make it last? Because these things, it's like for like. It's a trade. And as I am not as elevated as I was before my glorious freedom, I can't say exactly how far you might want to go. Hell, I like watching you all. I've gotten accustomed to it. Watching you all, distracting you when necessary, keeping you from quite doing what you might think you should do. But I'm trying not to be that way anymore, so I can't really say, but I can't not say, if you know what I mean. Speaking of knowing what I mean, is it just me, or did the very genetic structure of these people change? I didn't bother to notice that. These children walking around here have a experienced look to themselves.
I mean, they are professionals here.
Ain't nothing professional about nobody here. Yeah, I did say booty was booty, but there's just something about that seems a little. It's the Hollywood version of poor, down and out, willing to do whatever it takes to get by. Because I remember the good old days, questions being asked, like, what would you do if your son was at home? I miss that song.
Oh, so you have standards now. This place not to your liking?
Always to my liking. I will have a field day. Now, all we need is you to pick someone who is willing to part with a little bit of their juice. You do got a couple of people openers on you, don't you?
I'll see what I can do.
Well, a people opener is probably easier than what you thinking about doing. You sing those fangs, there's a good chance that you may not stop. You're a little how those rich folks say, you're a little peckish. You can eat. Boy, can you ever eat? Oh my God, the number. Anyway, I want to thank you so very much for giving us all this opportunity so I can have a place of my own, though it's not a place that you own, but it'll be close enough. Because after all, who really... And he stops mid-conversation. His voice just drifting off. He doesn't dematerialize. He doesn't fade into nothingness. There's not a battle with the energies of the environment. But as he looks past you, there's a bobbing red-headed someone on the other side of a pallet of various liquors. There's, knockoff bottom barrel scotch and well tequila, which, well, in truth is nothing more than, rot gut. It is very close to an idea of the poisons that were served out during the Old West, the sort of things that would sit on the bar and get more than room temperature, and you'd get at a discounted price. Though here they serve it at full cost and full price. You can even see several of the funnels not far away from those boxes where that well and less alcohol is poured into bright, shiny, glittered bottles and name brand decanters, so that the truth of what the folks upstairs are drinking is no one's business. But the bobbing head catches your attention. It's not the bobbing head of someone in the midst of an activity that's probably best not mentioned in public. It's the bobbing head of someone gently sobbing. The uncontrolled physical fallout of someone taking a quiet moment to sob inaudibly. Someone dealing with something, some emotional pressure that they felt or had to negotiate.
Do you know them, Blue?
No. I don't know no motherfucker here. These kids are just kids, but some habits die hard. You know why I was successful with my diversification when I was alive was because I knew, I saw, I understood. I was ahead of my motherfucking time. And now that's a moneymaker though. You could get to her, convince her, build her up. I guarantee you would. But that's just me. But those same skills, that same talent, put a motherfucker on the right way on this side of the border too. It stands out. It's like Garrett's. You smell it, you know it, and now you suddenly want to have a Chicago mixed popcorn. That there is Garrett's. That is someone who, if you are able to, if you have the skill, if you got the talent, good goddamn, you could put so much weight on that one. You could build that one into, well,
So, do you want me to pick her then?
I don't know. I want you to go do your absolute best. Save that one. Make that one your friend. Because that one there, if you get them out of whatever this little mess, whatever that is, that's dripping and stinging the air all around them, they will be a fine host. A fine hostess, I tell you. You'd be able to do so many, very, very many things, and they bring you so much business. And you are still in the business of dealing that blood, after all. Why not have your own small little enterprise, something that adds to your total? You still pay your taxes on it, don't want to rob nobody because that's how people get killed, even kindred, but having another line of finances is always a good thing. Now that one there, I tell you, I guarantee you, if you are able to convince that one that you are better than the rest, but probably don't take all that much, that she will be, I hate to be crass, you know I'm a motherfucker of skill and talent and refinement, so I don't like to be just a rude and unsavory motherfucker. But that bitch there, that could be your bottom bitch. You could build a whole enterprise off of her back and she would never even think about how much profit she's entitled to.
Sometimes I forgot what business you were involved with when you were alive. Thank you for reminding me.
That was and the only honorable business that there is. People been selling pussy since the dawn of time, and they will continue doing so. Now, that pussy don't necessarily always have to be physical, but giving people the ideal, the fantasy of the thing is always more profitable than just giving them the thing. Because when you dating, that's what we used to call it, when you go out on dates, you don't pay your partner, whoever they are, male, female, all states in between, for their company. You pay them to leave so that you can have the solace and peace of your own mind. They come, they do what you need them to do, and then they get on. You ain't got to deal with all that emotional hang-ups, those connections, the bleeding from one into the next. And part of that payment is for them to keep that mouth shut, because no one needs to know what dirt you do in the dark. It's the same thing with your little business stuff. My business, it never hurt nobody, never killed nobody that didn't deserve it. Your little business requires things dying. And while you may be not the one doing the killing, you are definitely profiting off of that. There's no organic, holistically sourced blood. That's life juice, don't you know? And that the diminishing of it diminishes someone else's life. Someone's not quite as on the ball. Someone's not quite as wary as they might be. Even the survivors, in the moment when they need to be most wary, in the moment when they need to be at their strongest. Do you know what sort of wrong and evil you be doing without meaning to? It's always the way. Always the way. Everybody half-step doing what they do and assume that no one understands what path they on. Good thing about being dead, you get a chance to see all that.
The hypocrisy is not lost on me.
Yeah, you say that, but we still here talking. You got the makings of a good thing right there, and you got all them motherfuckers out back playing that dice game. It's gonna. He looks over his shoulder. Yep, you got two coming this way now. You probably could take one of them. I think that you're strong enough to put up a decent fight, drag them off into the dog, and have your way with them, taking what you need and leaving them on their way. After all, your kiss, unlike everybody else's, is a little bit more pleasurable. All they'll remember is having a good time, and they think that they got with the girl of their dreams, or the guy of their dreams, as the case may be. But you will get what we need you to get so that we can, well, continue along together separately. I'll be here keeping a watch on all of this. Very well put together flesh and all the things that come from it. You can come by and visit. I might even be able to hook you up with someone that gets your engines revving.
I have some thoughts on that, but, well, let's get down to business. And Lucio is going to blush to make sure he doesn't terrify everyone here, being a walking corpse and all.
There is a sudden realization that comes over you. One that you really hadn't noticed before. One that just absently played at the edges of your vision. Something that was there and present, and you knew it was there, but you didn't really know it was there. You didn't pay too much attention to it. And that is that while you were standing there, while you were having your discourse with the dead, observing the life around you, what little bit that there actually is in these denizens that are able to enter and exit into these darker spaces. The shadows themselves all but swallowed you whole. The shadows themselves were gently moving and swaying to the ebb and flow of your conversation. The shadows themselves were accompaniment to not just what you were saying, but what you were feeling. And it has always been that way over the last few weeks as your steps into the dark have taken you lower and lower, taking you closer and closer to your breaking point, which is the idea that eventually your grip on what is right and what is okay and worse seems to be shifting. There was a point in time where just the merest consideration of the humans around you wouldn't have had that separation, wouldn't have had that consideration of taking care of business, wouldn't have had the consideration of something separate than who and what you are. And it's only in this moment as you take on the scene and you tap into the camouflage of the beast and your vitae begins moving and circulating that realization hits, because the shadows seem to slide back from you a hair's breadth. Not recoil in shock or fear, but that sort of, we like you, but you changed your scent. We like you, but you changed your hair. We're not sure if we really like that style on you. And you realize that much like your conversations with Myers, Damien, and Critias, all of those, what feels like years ago, where they kept belaboring that the greatest of all evils always begin when one considers humans as something other than human. When you objectify them. And the hypocrisy of those statements from each of them in their own way did not miss you. The fact that they were doing the exact same thing as they were speaking to you, objectifying humans, devoiding the humans around them, separating themselves from it because they address the humans, the mortals, the kind as them, not us. And speaking of not us, not part of this side of the equation, us or them, the fire has not gone out. Not true. And you were hoping that it wouldn't be that way. If it goes out, you know that whatever came through is trapped on this side. But the fact that it is only small, flickering, and able to be transported says a lot about his providence, says a lot about the power that's burning through it. It's the sort of situation that there is no real way to explain that because you approximate it to energy. Fire needs fuel. There wasn't enough fuel there, so what is it burning on? What is providing the fuel for this flame? It's not air. That much is clear. It's not oxygen feeding it and keeping it lit. Otherwise, it would have gone out or would have grown bigger. And there's not enough of the charred embers of whatever it was that Miriam burned left there. Yet the fire manages to keep that sooty ash together, manages to keep itself burning and moving. And yet, it's not fire. It's the ghost of a fire. It's the mirror image of fire. It is hot enough that you can feel the heat of it, but cool enough that if you put your hand into it, you are sure that you will not be burned. You're not sure if that's an intrusive thought or someone playing a prank on you, but as you stare at the flame and begin cleaning up the medical bay and the triage center, those thoughts are playing havoc with you, Astia. Put your hand in it. Make sure that it's as cool as you think it is. Go ahead.
I'm not a fan of all the weird voices going on in my head right now. I think I need to get this cleaned up and stowed somewhere. And I need to get to what I need to do with the rest of my evening. We were still supposed to go get Vivi, and I'm still going to attempt to accomplish that no matter what the hell happens here any further, because that's important. She's saying this out loud so that Miriam can hear it, but it's mostly just kind of conscious run on. I can't. Nope. One thing has to go right tonight. We have to do the thing that we started out to do.
But what was it that you started out doing? What was it that is your actual goal, not just yours individually, but as a group? Because in the end of it all, that's where your mind keeps going back to. You set it up in your head that you're going to go save Vivi. You're going to go to the Tremere Chantry. You're going to go and... But the truth of the matter, all things being equal, while the blood hunt has been paused, while you all are safe in the bosom of the Hecata, it has not been called off. There's always a cost to doing business, and you have to have something worth trading. Not just what you think is most advantageous for you, but something that is beyond the pale of interesting. Some knowledge that is actually dangerous. Something of value that is significant enough that it is dangerous to know that it can be used to maximize someone else's plots, plans, or just a great chicken pot pie recipe. And looking at the flame, finding out the details of that. There is no doubt as to why Pandora's sins came with the idea of fire. Why Prometheus's sin had to do with fire. It symbolizes fire, that knowledge, that burning need to know. And looking at that fire that you are now holding, that is dangerous. Whatever was able to do so, whatever was able to reach across the years, across the veil, across all semblances of time itself, and impart this knowledge or act through Miriam's understanding of that knowledge, is in fact dangerous. There was no small working. There was no small cost paid. And Miriam and Hestia is muttering and mumbling and doing what absent-minded professors of eons do, which is talk to herself for expert advice. You are still there. You still watch as the little bound and ball of energy that she is goes still contemplating the fire as the voices tumble out of her. Some of them seeming more like Hestia than others, but knowing that it is all still Hestia. The peace in you, purchased with the sacrifice of something that you are sure you will never be able to do again. The truth of the matter is the artwork that you sacrificed was as imbued as the heart, lung, and anatomical sketches you've made before, but more so because they were vistas. They were views of things that human eyes have never beheld. They were imbued with your skill, talent, need. And just like any good exorcism, having been done correctly, you will never have those particular demons besetting you. And the fire still hasn't gone out. It's changed color. Hestia has managed to transport it as if it was some ambrosia from the gods, but it still hasn't gone out. Just the idea of the eternal Olympic flame sitting there in her hands, lighting her face in what is effectively black light.
Mary will go crouch down in front of Hestia. I wonder what his name was.
Whose name?
Oh, didn't Blue say that there was someone that crossed through the flame, but that he wouldn't tell us who it is? Can we find that out?
Probably, but oh god, this is gonna itch my brain until I know. Fine. We'll take another detour and find out who the fuck is attached to this lane, and then we'll go get Vivi. Yeah.
I'm not saying we shouldn't go get Vivi first. But it might be important to know who this is. Why they were in the shelter.
Wait a minute. They were in the shelter. And memory I had is a girl hiding in a cabinet as the werewolves ransacked the place, but they were looking for something, somebody. he was already over here. Unless I'm missing something. It's like right down the tip of my tongue or the edge of my brain. The thing is, if we go to get Vivi, we have to have something to trade. And they only want something really, really good, like really important. And I feel like the flame is important, but we don't want to give them that, do we?
I don't think that would be good if it has that as much of a connection to the shelter as I think it might.
You're right. You don't want to give them the flame, but knowledge that the flame holds could be important enough. But we gotta figure out the flame first, right? So then that kind of leads us back to the thing where we were originally starting about figuring out the flame. Yeah.
Yes.
So with that, she finishes writing things in the medical bay and then kind of tries to plot the least visible way back to the haven so that they don't get stopped and questioned about the bowl of burning flame.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, the medical bay, the triage center, the medical center for the shelter, there is little to no chance of not being seen entering or exiting it. There's little to no chance of not moving past, through, or around several individuals. It was designed that way so if there was a need for ambulance or doctors or that sort of thing, it's all but a straight shot. You can get all the help you need on the way in and out, which unfortunately, at this point, it's not something that you need. You don't need everyone to be aware or know that everyone's fine, because no one is involved with the flame save for you and Miriam and whatever it was that moved through it, that moved through her, banishing the specters that had clung to and inside her all this time. There's a cost for doing business. Everything has a cost. Not everyone understands the value of those costs. But as you sit here with this impossible thing, with the improbable ahead of you, the value of secrets begins to slowly unravel, because you know on the other side of that door, even though you cleared them out of the immediate home leading directly into the medical bay, that there, once you leave that home, once you make your way towards the office, that you will be moving through the press and throng of the community of the shelter. And then there's the flame. And while the voices and intrusive thoughts are still there, the fact that Miriam's closed a distance, they are quieter. There are already whispers, just audible enough to be heard. And while you know that they're still there, those intrusive thoughts, because you do want to know what it is like to put your hand in that fire. There's no way around it. It doesn't trigger the same fear as other fire. In fact, there's a small allure to it, and there's no heat to it, yet you feel that heat, that cold heat of it. And while it casts no real light, it does illuminate the dark somehow. All of those impossibilities doubling back on themselves, and the voices that are urging calling you forward like the sirens, have grown smaller with Miriam being close enough to touch. And there's a brightness to Miriam's eyes that haven't been there for weeks. Since she first arrived on scene, escorted in by Sebastian, and believed to be part and parcel of a family from the very outset. That brightness that was there, that hope for tomorrow, that very humanistic outlook on the world, that it may be bad, but it'll get better, is back, dancing there just beneath those dead eyes.
Mary will stand up and hold her hand out to Hestia to help her up, even though she knows Hestia doesn't need it. Or should we stash this in the meantime?
Yeah. As Miriam, it was Hestia, her hand, she takes it, then impulse just wins out, and she puts both her hands and Miriam's into the flame for a couple seconds just to see what'll happen.
Would you both please roll your resolve plus either occult or subterfuge? And while that roll is happening, as the two hands of the dead drift into the fire, the ever-living eternal fire, at least that's the idea that it's hyped itself up on, we turn our gaze to St. Jerome's. Churches and such establishments, unlike most buildings, have a spirit self, have a portion of themselves in the Shadowlands. The hopes, belief, and energies of the fellowship poured into them build them up brick by brick in the Shadowlands. So what for us is a 2-story or 1-story or even a storefront church in the Shadowlands is a vast castle. Some of them stretching what would be for us blocks on end because of the number of people that have poured their faith, their feelings, their belief, and all of those energies into the building. And people who have gone there in times of need, who have gone to light candles, who've gone to speak with priests, to speak with staff members, speak with the clergy as a whole, those who've dedicated their time, those who volunteered their time, those who have gone there and had pinnacle life moments, christenings, baptisms, marriages, deaths, funerals. All of those emotions build its spirit self. And as Sophia takes in the small bit of calm she has, because that's literally what it is, the calm before the storm, there's several factors that may make this process a little easier. And there's no sense of beating around the bush with it. The more lives you have to do what you are preparing to do, the easier it will be.
I don't think she has much of a problem with that this week.
This world and then the fireworks and everything else in between. Not having a problem with it is not quite the same as amassing them, especially so quickly. Your supplies that you have thus far will allow you to initiate the ceremony, the attunement that you interrupted twice. The attunement that your interruptions helped others siphon the energy from. You could do with several individuals, preferably willingly coming along, so they don't have to willingly stay, because that will be out of their hands. But getting them here would make things considerably easier. You realize why the Don used his security team and as devilish thoughts dance beneath her superficial ones as ways to capitalize and hinder at the same time. Because there are two sides of every battle. There's two sides of every operation that she's been involved with. Capitalizing and building, as well as tearing down and destroying. The farther that gap between what's built for who she's working for or with and what's taken away from those she's working against, makes things so much easier. It adds so much heft and makes it just a matter of tipping the right domino. They've been working diligently on re-cleansing or reattuning, rebuilding the church since the coterie came in like a wrecking ball, since the hounds of the city, in honoring their contract with the Hakata, sought to stop the Thin Bloods from... What was it that Thin Bloods were trying to do? Oh, that's right. Their head, Dustborn, was attempting to rout Wojcik. Now, someone who plots and plans ahead, he clearly should have, if he didn't take them into account. But it was clear that he did, because their deaths, their endings, added to the mystical sledgehammer he was using to chalk out the borders of his territory, of his domain, to add fuel to the fire and double the impact of whatever energies would have been released. But symbols mean a lot. Symbolically, what he was doing was tying the living and the dead into his sacrifice. In all actuality, what he was doing was adding the magic that exists even in those thin, wane blood of the Dustborn to the efficacy of his spell. Master of the living, master of the gray spaces in between, and master of the dead. Though now, if things are to be believed, he is in fact carving his way through the Shadowland, forming an empire of his own.
Damn that guy. How many willing sacrifices do we have in the church? Or about to be willing, as they're not going to be given a choice?
Well, the staff above, not counting the higher members of the clergy present, easily 12 to 15. If you count the absolute head, you tap into all of those people that have placed their faith and trust in him. Which, even though it's only 12 to 15, with himself, you are connecting with all of those lives that have connected with him. All of those ties that have been abound in his skill and his management. All of the souls that he has ushered across the veil. Because it is clear to Sophia that there is no way that someone truly incompetent can hold that position. And if he's not truly incompetent, he's working with Okada, then there is no way that he has not tied himself to several individuals, that he is not socially attuned or actually attuned himself to several lives, people that could be useful to the family, gaining leverage over them, having buttons he can push to get certain results out of them.
She will regard him with cold eyes and say, are you ready to accept the new regime? To swear yourself to it?
That sounds very official. I didn't believe that the handover was to be official until our new pater was properly ensconced. They are still solidifying the borders of the medical center and preparing for the actual usurpation of the blood czar.
I am not who you think I am, are you?
His brow raises. But you are one of the family, correct? And he takes a half step back, turning more so that his left side is facing you, all but obfuscating his right side. It is a stance that you've seen Silvio take similarly. Silvio was ambidextrous, so he often moved from side to side, sizing up the other opponent. But it is a stance that you've seen him practice and work on. It's a stance that, well, is designed for very few things, and all of them bloody.
I promise you that what you are thinking now will end very painfully for you. However, to answer your question, I am of a family who is part of the family as you view it in a larger sort of picture. If you mean am I among the clan, yes, I am among the Akata.
Perhaps I was blinded by my optimism for things returning to a semblance of normalcy. Are you acting on the Pater's will in support of our new Pater Zal?
Zal is not Pater.
In all but official name, there is but one task for them to accomplish.
There is a task they will not accomplish. Let's say they have backing, but others have backing of equal stature and stand. The question will be, in the standing, will you stand behind the victor, or will you stand in the way of the victor?
We will serve the will of the family, but I will not take part in a coup.
No, there is no coup. I am doing as the chamber has bid me.
His stance relaxes some. There is a pause as he considers the details that you've shared with him and those that you didn't. Namely, the fact that he's belaboring under one assumption, and that assumption could have proven disastrous for him. Yet he is still breathing. He's still here.
You understand that what we do, what I intend to do, requires great sacrifice. Sacrifice can be partially mitigated by symbolism. I would prefer to spare you because you are very useful, and I would like to employ you and have you around. However, the symbolism involved in your death as the changing of one owner to another would be very powerful.
The words don't slip by unnoticed. When you say your death, he tenses, stepping back, his hand going into his right pocket. You can see the hanging beaded chain of a rosary. And as he removes his hand, you see that is in fact what he pulled out. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits and awareness, or wits plus melee?
We'll go with awareness because Sophia cannot fight. She has people for that. Sorry, the first die roller did not want to work.
It does that. Technology is a wonder. You're not a fighter. You're not involved in the down and dirty, fist to fist, tooth to tooth, claw to claw. Not physically. Socially and politically, that is very much what you are. You move in and you help the council and the painters exert their will over a certain area. You've been doing so long enough that that is your life, or at least it was your existence. Something about that has changed. Something, because you know that they will always back a winner, even if they exert punitive actions for having gone against their will. But you have to be a winner for that to happen. You have to be the last person standing. You have to have the ducks all lined in a row. And having ducks all lined in a row is very much why you're here. And the resistance from this particular priest, even with you not being a physical fighter, triggers something in you. You watch as he takes his stance, and the rosary that comes out of his pocket, you realize it's a weapon. Not just any weapon. It is a weapon designed clearly with the idea of being able to incapacitate, or worse, kindred. There's a faint scent to it. The telltale remnants of Vitae. The sweet melon-like scent of Vitae. And it's clear that he has some skill with it. Because instead of running or presenting his back or backing away, he went for something that would be able to... What exactly? And unfortunately for him, well, you are not a fighter. And Felix is no great fighter. Your sister, however, is trained for such things. As he produces the weapon, while she was busily marking out the range of safety for your spell, properly denoting the iron-filed, salt-laden wood chips around the edges of the space, she was keeping an eye on you and the priests and anyone who got too close to you. When he takes his stance, she stopped working. When his hand went into his pocket, she was already 10 feet closer than she was. Now, the myth of firearms, handguns being a distance weapon is a myth. It's not exactly a distance weapon. It's good, 25 to 50 feet typically. Unless, of course, you're a marksman where you can get further than that. And it is clear that she's, in fact, a marksman. The gun goes off. And we know that the gun goes off as the priest drops to one knee. His arm suddenly a mass of ruined suit jacket and blood.
I see you are on one knee. Shall it be an offering, or shall it be an offering?
You son. And it's clear that he is doing what he should not be able to do as a human. He is mending, or in their case, healing, which denotes that he is someone's goal.
Zal owns you.
And as the words leave your lips, Zal owning you, we turn our gaze to the Admiral. Seeming human is not being human. It is effective camouflage and allows the sheep to be mindlessly unaware that amongst them is an actual full-fledged death machine, a full-fledged predator. You're able to move amongst them without disturbing them before you need to. Lucio's rarely hunted this close, this intimately. It's hard to view moving amongst the humans here at the Admiral as anything but intimate. There's enough skin on display and stolen touches that, reminds him of high school. It reminds him of his first few years in college. It reminds him that for many, touch is, while part of sex, the absolute best part of sex. The touch, the gyrating, the slide of skin across skin. And while it is 100% frowned upon as something that they should not be doing, it seems to be far more tolerated because, one, it increases the dancers and entertainers' tips, and two, it makes the customers and patrons believe that this is a place for them, that they can come back and that they're one of the cool ones that are more than what they are, more than a John, more than just an ends to a means. The illusion. Do you have a victim in mind? Do you have a sacrifice that you are willing to utilize?
He would probably be looking to go after well, Blue did say that it was basically his pick, so I guess Lucio would try and look for someone that was attractive to him, easy enough to convince to go to a private room.
Lucio's a handsome man. He's tall, dark, dangerous. There's a certain bad boy vibe that he naturally gives off. And credit where credit's due, though he hates to really labor on it. And it's a trait, and a familial trait that he owes to his biological father. It's a hint as to the darkness that exists in that family. But the thing that Lucio has to come to grips with, and the part that makes it a little difficult, is that his father, not just his biological donor, had a similar potential in him. Seeing Lucio's father next to his biological donor, it would be easy to assume that they are or were somehow familially related. It was easy to see that. And it's something that he's not really all that fond of in the moment, considering what he is preparing to do. He's been a successful hunter. He didn't have to be. But he has had a modicum of success when he sought to feed. And in this moment, all of those things swirl together to create an embarrassment of riches. He's looking for someone, a place where the average staff member is trained to capitalize on people looking for someone to be that someone, at least temporarily enough to separate the food from their cash. And in this moment, having no real need of cash, and just being a tool, Lucio has managed to keep, just like all of the coterie members who have gone on their forays in and around and outside of town, not use their cash. So his pockets are overflowing. He has enough easily disposable cash on him to be a real consideration for a mover and a shaker. And finding someone attractive in a place where everyone seeks to be attractive or perceived to be attractive is, while not the easiest thing he's ever done, is definitely in the top two. Because with a simple look, not even a full-fledged smile, not a smirk, not a grin, just the brief flickering contact of eye to eye, there's a college-aged, dark-haired woman who all but throws herself at him. And as she's doing so, her friends begin to help, working in tandem to get Lucio to pick one or all of them for a private party. Hey, handsome, you like to party? It's trite and cliche, but that's something that he's heard about 3 or 4 times already. You know, we do have private suites. And then the male dancers, who, you know, are in their taut, tight shirts and jeans that allow you to know when they've had dirty thoughts and how many have skipped leg day, make their way over. It becomes a caravan of concern and care and all of the right buttons that would normally explode a person's sense of paranoia and doubt, the natural things that keep urban city dwellers alive. All of that would be going out the window because these people like you. They really, really like you.
Yeah, Lucio's definitely not used to this. He would try to just get one person from the group, not all of them, and if he had to choose one, it would probably be whoever seemed like someone who seemed like the most reasonable, mature of the group, someone who seems a little bit more intelligent, a bit laid back. In other words, someone who won't scream too loud.
It is amazing how much psychology, well, social empathy and intellect these individuals have. There's just the right amount of tension. There's just the right amount of laughing. There's just the right amount of carousing being done that pulls him further and further into their midst, making it harder to separate a lone prey from the herd. He's trying to winnow out a straggler. And while he's never been the sort to really engage or indulge in the more animalistic side of Kindred, he's always done his best to not feed his dark side, to not view humans as them, and yet here he is, because he is really working against a pack or herd of cattle and trying to winnow out the one that's healthy enough to provide a decent meal, but something that the herd won't miss. While they are attempting to bring him further and further into the herd, to keep him partying and buying drinks and spending money and offering tips, and finally one of them, would you be so kind as to roll your manipulation and subterfuge or etiquette to separate out, to isolate one of this herd of would-be predators, because they believe that it's them that's preying. They believe their skills of gift of gab and their ability for being attractive and is working his magic to separate Lucio from his funds. They believe that he may be a whale-sized lamb to be fleeced. And Lucio, being someone who has not had as much practice in socializing in this sort of environment, in this battlefield, is not quite as skilled as he would have liked to be. It takes far too many moments, far too many hand patterns, far too many hints before finally a little bit of frustration reaches his voice. Are we gonna go by ourselves or not? I can't get to know you. And as the words tumble out, you can hear Blue chuckling. But it's effective. A little bit of rage, a little bit of anger, a little bit of the shadows perking up and paying attention. And Elmira, you hate that you've learned her name, but Elmira, who is a phlebotomist for the Compass Medical Group. This is her part-time. Well, she goes to school online to, you forget exactly what degree she's pursuing, but it's something, strangely enough, not in the medical field. Now, normally a phlebotomist doesn't need to take on a side job, but she's paying out of pocket for her education. Normally, the believed sort of person that is passionate and dedicated enough to have a good job and still pursue bettering themselves through education is not the sort of person that would be at the Admiral. Part of Lucio spending so many years speaking for the voiceless, He has run rampant through the halls of drug use, the entirety of the community that it is, that preys on itself and eventually dies but manages to hang on to existence. All the signs are there. First, he was sure it's probably something like to help with focus. And then when they got too expensive, she clearly did something else. But she's a functioning addict. And while she hasn't lied, there's still an air of untruth to it. There's still an air of desperation. All the intelligence, all of the determination aside, there is a part of Lucio that, if he's being honest, finds that sort of person odious. Not because he doesn't see addiction as a disease, but at its heart, a person as functionally addicted as she is always lying to themselves and the world around them. There's a little twinkling of glee as he is able to separate her off from the her. As he, Elmira, and Bloom retire to a suite just the other side of the stage. And by suite, it just means that it has its own functioning bathroom. It's not the champagne room. Although they don't call it the champagne room here, they call it the Magnum room, where there are, just couches and settings all in one room. No, this is for the ballers. This is for those individuals who are going to make a time of it. There, of course, is a bouncer outside the door, though he'd never enter unless, of course, he gets the right code phrase or hears actual screaming. And even then, provided that the screams seem like pleasure, it's a good chance they probably won't enter then. The no touching rule stops at the door. That much is obvious, because once you break the threshold, and Elmira closes the door, leaving just a quarter of an inch crack before closing it completely, she immediately begins swaying her hips and dancing, pulling you by your fingertips into the center of the room. So what did you want to talk about?
You, I suppose. You seemed more interesting than the rest of those people gathered.
What? Thank you. You're interesting too. How did you get that scar over your eye?
It's not nearly as interesting as it might seem. It was a dog.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a cat person myself. I've got 2 cats. Now don't laugh. And it's bad, but it's not bad. One's name is Sai, and the other is Am. They're a boy and a girl. Sai, of course, being the girl, and Am being the boy. I used to love Lady and the Tramp, and while it's not really politically correct, I love the song that the cat sang. It's the last movie I watched with my dad. But enough about family. We're not trying to talk about the families we have or anything like that. We're maybe trying to make a family, right? She swats your forearm.
I guess that is the name of the game here, so...
You're not a cop, are you?
No.
You kind of have like that undercover cop look. You know that, right?
I've been told that, and worse.
So, did you want to know rates, or did you want to actually just talk a little bit?
How much are we talking here?
Well, being as it's just a tip for my time, I can leave that up to you, but if you like to really take in this lovely, lovely room that we have, I kind of have to tip the bouncer too. So we're talking starting at 2 and going up from there based on how much or how little time you want. And then, of course, we have to order a bottle. And I don't drink cheap. I usually don't drink during the week, but this is a special occasion. You know, I knew you'd be here.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, my numbers said that I would meet someone special. That everything would change. And she reaches up and strokes your chin. All of the basic steps of entrapment. Because this is what seduction is. It is outwitting the opponent, entrapping them into believing that you are more charming or more interesting than you actually are. It's getting something for nothing at its base. It's the ideal behind it. But it's a very effective tact. Why force when you can seduce? And there's a certain amount of touch that makes things easier. There's an exchanging of oxytocin when we're touched. There's a changing of oxytocin and endorphins release when we feel as if we are the center of someone else's attention. And she makes just the right amount of eye contact. She touches just enough to make sure that the illusion of you all falling in love is, well, believable.
Well, since this is a special occasion, do you have a favorite drink?
I do. You're gonna laugh. But I always, and she leans into you, resting her surprisingly ample chest against yours, wrapping her arms lightly around your arms as she all but snuggles and jiggles on purpose, but it's designed to not seem as if it's a purposeful act. It's her being excited about her drink. I know it's silly, but I really, really love sex on the beach, and we can make those here by ourselves. We don't have to share, and we don't have to get just a drink. I'm sure you'll like me making you one. It will be, oh my God, it's gonna be so great. Let me go get everything for you. Be right back. And as she leaves, bouncing off and moving out of the room, it is clear that the intention, and this is a rather cynical view that pops into Lucio's mind. She thinks he's gullible. She thinks she's going to ride his wallet. So he has nothing left. She believes that she's going to get, well, the better end of the arrangement. Money, drinks, all for as little actual physical time spent as possible. And it's hard not imagining how many times that this has worked. Just the right amount of touch, just the right amount of eye contact, the furthering of alcohol poisoning, the sugar making it so that the drink is processed faster than it would be normally, and disguising the fact that the rot gut that they use is nearly all alcohol. And by all alcohol, you know that it's higher than the legally accepted 80 proof. It is literally rot gut. It is literally the bottom of the basement. It is literally poison. Let's just call it what it is. Even more so than all the other friendly poisons behind most other bars. It's designed to inebriate you quickly so that you are more free-hearted, that you spend more cash and spend more time. She returns too quickly for her to actually have gone to a full-fledged bar, and there's several throughout the building. You, Elmira, and Bloom spending a lovely evening making a sex on the beach in a private room that if you took a black light to, you are sure that there'd be far less solid surfaces not covered than surfaces covered.
So then the plan is to basically get her a little drunk, and then that's when Lucia will make a move to bite in.
It's surprisingly easy for you. And she's right. It's a bad drink, but it's a good drink. Sex on the beach is pretty much all sugar. The way that she makes it, especially. She's so heavy-handed on the grenadine. But it works. It's been a long time since he's had anything that was not potato. In fact, the last time he had something worthwhile was with Critias. The last potato that he had was top notch. But this, it's sweet. It's just biting enough to let you know that there's alcohol there, which is probably the reason why she so heavily uses the grenadine. And it's probably the reason why so many people have fallen to her charms, because it's sweet and it hides its alcohol content, and one leads to the next. And it's clear that she has a higher tolerance than she should, being as, you know, her age, her height, her weight. Long enough into the night that you wonder where the time got off to, and quick enough into the night where not much actual time has passed. You've only been here just under an hour and a half, and you already have her all but eating out of your palms. The time is perfect. She is 100% at your disposal. She is 100% in your sway. There's, outside of a few slurred attempts at dancing and getting you up to dance off the alcohol, there's not much more to her. She is absolutely putty. She is fully 100% unable to do more than nod, even though she continues trying. She continues trying to get up and dance. She continues trying to get you to get up and dance. And there's but one mind in this room present, and that's yours.
And at that point is when Lucio will bite into her neck. Now, since he's not particularly hungry, he's not intending to... In fact, actually, I think his hunger is 0 from the little gift that Saul sent them. He's not intending to take her life, but he is intending to take enough of her blood that she gets a little woozy and maybe passes out, whether it be from the blood loss or from being drunk. Probably from being drunk. And then he will take the blood that he has taken from her and will splatter it on the coin once she's unconscious. Or at least not conscious enough to remember any of this.
And there lies the dilemma. There lies the truth of it all. There's so many false equivalencies that Lucio built up for himself as to who he is. And here he has this college-aged young woman fully in his grasp, fully in his control. And he has his way with her. It's only as he spills the blood onto the coin and its coolness begins crawling up his arm as if it is a flock of ice spiders, as if it is an entire nest and swarm of ice spiders crawling up his arm, that he realizes that the thought dances there just beneath his thoughts, just beneath where he believes himself to be. He's killed before, and it was clean and needed. He's harmed before, and it may not have been as needed, but it was still clean. It was still above board. There was still a battle of wills, or a battle of armaments, a battle of personalities, and it was clear and measurable that violence was afoot, that all parties there knew what they were doing. They were invested. But as the cold crawls over him, and Blue, who's never not materialized but seems to be all but invisible to most, becomes clearer, more distinct. He's been pacing in the background, and it wasn't until recently that you realized that you couldn't hear him. It's clear that he was talking, it's clear that he was there, but you couldn't hear him. And as the cold reaches your ears, you're able to hear him. Motherfucker, don't you understand? And speaking of not understanding, speaking of understanding the risk, or at least having an idea, an appraisal of the situation, Hestia and Miriam's hand plunges into the flame. Fingers locked together. Not sure how that quite happened, but it did in the quick shifting. And while the strength of the coterie is in everyone working together, everyone pulling in a direction, maybe not exactly toward the same goal, but as long as it's along the way, everything tends to work out. All of that idea just went right out the window. Because when you plunge your hands into the flame, while you don't get pulled across time and space, and while you don't get shunted into the Shadowlands, you can see it. You can see what this place once was. The hotel that it once was. The hospital that it once was. Layered and layered over each other, as if you're seeing double and triple all at once. You can see how busy this place once was, turn of the century. You can see how busy this place was just after its reopening back in the 50s. And you can see how, and on, the images that are beginning to bombard you are. If you all had not rolled successfully, you would be lost to these moments. As it stands, it's a nuisance. It's a movie running in the background while you're trying to play a video game. It is there and present, and while you can hear the sights and sounds of those places, you do realize that you are not there. You realize where you are. And that makes it a little worse. Kindred don't usually vomit. Kindred don't usually have a reason to, outside of perhaps taking in food or actual beverage, evacuating their system. But the disorienting vertigo of being in 3 and more places at once without ever leaving where you are threatens that gag reflex. And Miriam, you've never really been protected. Not in the way that is oh so stereotypical. Big bad caveman rushing into your aid. No, that's never been you. But as the world shifts and dances and the images of what was comes home to roost once more, you feel it. There is as if there's a herd of large bovines moving in your direction rapidly. You can feel the tremor along the ground. You can see the buildings shake, and you know that that which you have been tied to, that which has released you from servitude of haunting, is on its way. And it's only as your canines slip into place, your fangs presenting themselves, that you realize how troubling of an idea that is. It's something coming to protect you because you're their property.
Miriam's eyes will bug out of her head just a little bit. It's like, yes, I don't think we should be here. I don't want to be the ghost. And she'll tap Hess slightly on the hand.
The sense of nausea was enough for her to yank her hand free of the flame in the first place, so she's just kind of breathing unnecessarily hard, kind of almost doubled over. But then that jogs just a little bit more of a memory free. And she looks at Miriam. I'm almost sure I think I know who this flame belongs to. And it's not good. And so
powerful.
I know you heard us talk about Forciculus before. He was never a human. And he's giant when he's in his actual state. But then he stole a body, and I think the other part of him escaped because of this door.
I'm not sure if you felt the herd of buffalo heading towards us.
It wouldn't surprise me that there's spirit buffalo coming this way, but yes, okay, we shouldn't be here.
But other than that was kind of neat. Yeah. A little weird. So, Forciculus, you say?
Yeah, apparently the lupine don't like him, and he eats other spirits. And we had to make a deal with him. to keep him from taking Simone's body that time. Hold on, I'm trying to keep from throwing up. Okay, I'm better now, better. We were trying to get out of here, but the thing is, trying to walk past all the people in the shelter with this fucking flame, so you said we should probably stash it?
Yes.
Where do you think we should stash it so we can leave?
So, how many people are going to look in the crematorium?
But we'd have to get the flame out to get it to the crematorium. She just looks for another bowl and carefully tries to put the bowl on top of the first bowl.
The flame begins to flicker a little bit, and the thrumming, concussive beat of the earth shattering beneath the feet of whatever it is that's rushing towards you becomes apparent to not just Miriam but to you as well. There is power coming, unchecked power heading in your direction, heading here. Time being what it is, all things relative and not, you are unsure what the result of all of that power arriving with you all dampening its flame might do.
That doesn't seem to be good either. I suppose we could always just make a dash for it.
I think we can do, I think. And she kind of leaves enough air for the flame. Like, it's like weird logic in her head. Leaves enough air for the flame to be fed, but covers it enough to not be in view. And remembering what happened earlier, she doesn't go full out speed, but she's definitely speed walking.
Miriam will follow.
It's funny how coincidence is always how it is not really existent. How it is our minds trying to make a connection of things that aren't really connected. Yet we see patterns everywhere. We are even children who haven't had an opportunity of dealing with the world, their minds find patterns. They make connections and leaps of illogic that are amazing. Almost as if there's some genetic memory at play, some instinct to do so, to do the thing that is proven to not really exist, but does. Because you all leave the medical bay, as you all quickly move through the crowd, as you all are about 10 feet from the office, turning the corner to your right to head down the hall where the office is. You see Donnell talking with a nebbish, about 5'7", 5'8", a balding pate, salt and pepper hair on the side of his balding head, which is clearly more salt than pepper, if there's ever been pepper in that individual's diet. Even as pink and ruddy as the skin is, there is something predatory about the gaze beneath the glasses. And he sits there in his three-piece tweed suit, the collar a little old-fashioned but French in style, so as are the cuffs. Yes, Mr. We're looking to speak with your owner. If you'll just ensure that Miss Green and her associates. Oh, yes, hi, Miss Green. It's been a very long time since we've spoken. Might I have a moment of your time?
Is this the Sunshine?
Yes. And the funny thing is, while Donnell is clearly the more physically imposing because of all the hard work that he actually does around the shelter, because of all of the actual hands-on repairing and laboring that he does, if he so much as breathes wrong, you are sure that he will cease to be. There's the political strength to consider, but as close as he is, there's also the very real kindred strength. The child of the former prince of the city's prince. The child of one of the prince of the city's childer is standing within striking distance. Close enough where escape is not an opportunity nor an option.
Hess puts on a very forced smile so that Donnell does not do anything stupid. Thank you, Donnell. I definitely have this. I wasn't expecting them, but definitely will take this meeting. The medical bay is all clear, by the way, and there wasn't a lot of damage, actually. Just a little smudging. Everything's clean and fine. You can go check out if you don't, believe me, but yeah, it's fine. And she...
Yeah, no, I believe you, Hess, but I thought that we already had our inspection from this guy before. This seems like...
That's nothing to worry about. We already have somebody looking into maybe getting us some more help, and he just wants to make sure that it's okay for us to take a couple more people on. So I will handle that.
Yeah. Sure thing. You want me to, No, it's quite all right. Miss Green is here. You don't have to stick around unless, of course, you believe that might be a threat. What do you got there? Were you making a soup, Miss Green? As he speaks, Miriam, it is impossible to not see him as the snake from Disney's animated Robin Hood. His slithering, his thin frame, and the glasses that catch the light and reflect it back. It is also impossible to not realize that the ground has stopped shaking. And as many hunters will tell you, the only thing worse than seeing a predator down the sight of your rifle is losing track of it. Speaking of losing track of it, down on one knee, the effort to mend the flesh clearly taking a taxing toll on him. The priest is grunting through the pain, attempting to rise, and if you don't stop Victoria, you're sure that the next shot will in fact put him permanently down.
If he does not answer in time, she will say to Vittoria in Italian, painful but not fatal.
I don't want to die. I know it's against our family, the family, but I don't want to die. And yes, Zal she's the Pater's choice. It would be foolish to not heed their decisions.
Who told you that they made the decision? Zal?
Yes. After everything that Don Castiglione did, all of the damage.
You know who brought them down, don't you? It was not Zal.
But
first him, and then the wife, and now the servant.
Mama,
I will continue to bring more down if I have to.
But Don Castiglione killed Mama Cass.
That's what he would have you believe.
And he looks away. Gritting through the pain, he looks away. When you say that's what he would have you believe.
You put me in a strange circumstance, for your loyalty should get you killed. But if you were to switch camps, how can I trust your loyalty?
You can't. You shouldn't. We all have to look out for ourselves, and we all have to follow along with the Pater. You're scheduling. You're attempting a coup right now.
The coup has already happened. You just have not been informed. So what is the saying about get out of the way? The other party, something or the something, or get out of the way.
I don't listen to much rap, but that sounds like ludicrous.
Well, it would be ludicrous for you to attempt to stand in my way any further.
I'm not standing in your way, Miss Rossi.
Rosalind. Sophia Rosalind. I shed that name and go to my true name.
As the last syllable leaves your lips, he falls back on his haunches. That hit harder than the bullet that made him ruin in its grazing attempt of his right arm. That changes the scope of the game. Many people outside of the family don't see it as anything except for the Giovanni repackaged, much like the Serpents of Light did with the Setite name and then with the Ministry. But those inside the dome understand that each of the major families' names means something. as a former offshoot, as a former family that was brought into the fold through marriage and solely for their skill at manipulating and controlling the dead, the Rossellinis have a standing that is, well, impossible to not know. Just as the Puttanesca have a reputation that has been proven true more times than not, because many of the other families forced their criminal ties onto the Puttanesca and onto the Castiglione Tories, who are usurping the Puttanesca family from within. That realization of the Rossellini name changes everything. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I mean no harm.
I see you heard of us. You could not know. So how do we proceed? Are you a servant or a sacrifice?
We have 20 individuals feeding in the kitchens. Allow me to escort them here. We don't feed them in the church anymore because of the reputation that we've garnered due to Don Castiglione's former actions. We're working towards the point where we can once more do our breakfasts and our dinners in the church and offer meals in the church. But right now, word is spread, and I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I did not mean to impugn your honor. I did not.
I understand you have been a victim of hearsay. I look forward to our business arrangement. If you would like to perhaps write up some suggestions for what you see to happen to this particular organization next. But first, let us cement it in the control of the Hagata once more.
You're not quite sure when Felix made the cross the distance from where he was at the far south edge of the room, finishing with the border of the spell. But he's at the man's side, helping him to his feet. How quietly he moved is disconcerting, almost as much as the speed of his movement. And the fact that even though Vittoria, you're sure, would do all that she could, something that moved that quickly, that quietly, may very well catch even her off guard, may very well have even caught Silvio off guard once or twice. And it's impossible to realize that you, much like Cleopatra, are pulling an asp to your breast and bringing it into your bosom. I'll be right back. I'll help him bring the guests. We wouldn't want him unaccompanied after what you've all done to him.
Very well. It is appreciated.
The look between Vittoria and you is one that you are sure she's sized him up as well. And as he and the priest leave, is there anything you and Victoria would discuss?
Sophia will just nod at her and say, I know he's going to betray me, but he is useful for now.
She shrugs and continues moving things to make sure that you have proper line of sight, that everything is in place. The idea that this is a mirror of what is above, it has not mystic's mark with her. He's very enamored. She's been measuring the distance between the pews and lines of sight. Because despite all of her little bit of tactical knowledge and her experience with the width and breadth of the Hikata, she very much is still human, much like the priest whom she was just preparing to end. So her power is in preparation.
Do you have anything to say at my shedding our father's name and assuming our grandfather's name?
It will make things easier. Make things more interesting for you. Our father will, of course, take what he will from the situation, as will your mother.
That was another thing. Mother dear has been quite treacherous. It's time to break any sort of associations that I may have with her, at least perceptually. Why anchor yourself to a sinking boat?
To avoid the sharks.
At least the sharks will be quicker.
I've never been a fan of speed for speed's sake. Efficiency has always been more interesting to me. I do have a question.
Very well.
Zal was chosen for their ability to dance just beneath notice.
So I am told.
But if she's been working beneath notice, do we know how long she's been doing so? Do we know where else her fingers and claws have settled into the Castiglione Torres organization?
She bragged that she had been at it for quite some time. She also bragged unintentionally about how she only saw a smaller picture, how to scrabble for table scraps, except less than we are due, all the while staying beneath notice. The agreement is coming due soon. It is just a piece of paper. Augustus is gone. Probably very few of us who actually know what was in that agreement or were present when it was made are still on this side of the veil. We cannot have the perception of weakness going into the new era. The mutt who scrabbles for scraps and works beneath notice will only get us all killed. As you say, the sharks. They smell the blood in the water and they attack.
But are you ready to assume that responsibility and care? You know, that means you'll have to deal with the tower more directly.
I am prepared for that. We already have a somewhat favorable relationship, though. The issue with this coterie at the shelter might be problematic. It might stain, tarnish that a little bit, but I'm sure it is nothing that cannot be worked out.
It seems very dangerous, especially if you are going to officially cut ties with the rest of our family.
I'm not cutting ties. I have the blessing of some. I assume that's why you are here.
Yes. But there's more to a name than simply what it is called.
You certainly have seen enough of our family to realize the old axiom of it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission holds very true in this regard. Whoever is strongest, whoever is the most able will take the position, and then the chamber will fall behind it, as if it was always their idea, always their plan. And who can know the mind's so ancient? Perhaps it is. Perhaps they have manipulated this from the very beginning. Nonetheless, I am in it now. There's no turning back. It is win or die. Like the Game of Thrones, they say that, yes.
I didn't take you for someone who read fantasy.
I heard there's a TV show someone told me about.
And speaking of TV shows and fantasies, the blood flows. The breathing turns shallow, and the eyes look dreamily as if they are shuffling off to the land of Nod, along with the splatter of blood over the coin, fighting the urge to suck each digit clean with a few splattered droplets. Realizing that as Elmira shallowly, barely breathes, her eyes nearly closed and her thoughts clearly of that pleasurable moment, because the moment your fang sunk in, there was that ease from her lips, the light dabbling of spittle at the corners, and her grip, first tense and tight, slackening to nothing. And even drunk and completely at your disposal, there was a almost knowing nod of, yeah, this was a bad idea. And finally you can hear Blue. Oh my God. Oh, fuck. You can't feel that, can you?
What are you talking about? What did I do wrong?
Fuck. You didn't do anything wrong, but there's something, and he turns pale. It's almost as if the color what little color he was able to access by being so close to light but not being this side of the veil, fades from him. I know you're not fucking religious, but do you know what happens when you piss off a fucking god? Little G God.
No, those exist?
That's what's protecting your friend Miriam.
Oh, fuck.
I don't know what the fuck happened, but something changed. Let's finish this. Get me in there. I need to be here, not there. Anywhere fucking near there.
Wait. You mean that's not finished yet?
Oh. You have to unfortunately part with my fetter. That's our contract.
Oh. Gotcha.
Before you do, I hate all you fuckers. But I'm gonna miss you. Make sure you stop by and see me.
Yeah, sorry it took It's been a few bumps along the road, for sure, but at least I eventually kept my word. Better late than never.
I fucking thought you were gonna try to keep me around for a fucking genie. Until you killed me. And then I thought I would be the one to kill you all. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Even when I had the chance. But that stays between fucking us. Don't tell nobody that, ever. I don't want none of that shit coming back to fucking with me.
Do you mind if I just say a few things that I can get off my chest? Since we're keeping this just between us.
Yeah. I already know you fucking can. You like boys. Let's go. This is 2022.
I'll keep it short since we seem to have pressing matters, but it's hard to say, but I don't know how much longer we will last. The coterie, I mean. It's just been one non-stop issue after another, and it's tearing us apart at the seams. I mean, for God's sake, Hestia and I are the only ones left from the original. Things have changed so much since all this began. And I'm beginning to wonder how much longer I'm gonna last. How much of me is actually left. It's been 2 years now that I've been dead. You know, I started my first year trying my damnedest not to feed on anyone, and now here I am, emptying bodies left and right in only 2 years. What the fuck happened to me?
Now that's a fucking lot to put on somebody's fucking shoulders. And I can't even fucking tell nobody now. Damn it all. Look, nothing stays the fucking same. Hell, look at me. I've died more times than anybody's been on fucking lie. Nothing is built, created to fucking stay the same. The trick from one fucking surviving cockroach to the next. It's fucking, it don't matter. Truth of it all. None of it fucking matters. You gotta take whatever you can so that you can find those small bits of you in everything else that fucking changes. Because you're not gonna be the same fucker you were at the start as you are at the end. It's impossible. Because if you were the same fucker you were at the start, you wouldn't have made it as far as you did. change is the only constant in the fucking world. Hell, look, and he points to Elmira. "40 years ago, she wouldn't have been here. 40 years ago, she couldn't have got through the front fucking doors. She's cute and all, but she ain't really fantasy material. 40 years ago, she would have been, graded on the size of her hands. She would have had her sticks measured. She would have been found wanted. The best that they probably would allow her is to pick up or pass out the flyers. And that's if they finally came to trust her. Because, back then you couldn't trust a fucking thing. Still can't most days, then. But think about it. When you first started this, you were what? Running around like a chicken with your fucking head cut off. And now, look at you. Pissing all over Brett Stryker's territory, taking property from him and giving it to me. At the beginning, you wouldn't even thought about doing nothing like that. At all. You're fucking grown. None of it fucking matters. It only has a value you put on it.
It's been hard to find those bits of myself when we've been running to and from disaster left and right. And it feels like those bits I do find are slipping away. I've lost my parents. I haven't seen my sisters in weeks. I haven't spoken with Elijah in over a month. I don't even know what happened to my sisters. I know something happened, but I don't know what. And I haven't been able to find out because it's just been one thing after another. It's really why I wanted to come here to finally just accomplish something. Because every goal that I've set out for myself, I have failed to accomplish. This, tonight, getting you your place is, I feel, the first thing that I have actually successfully done without any strings attached. Without creating 100 other problems for myself in the process.
It ain't much, but I can fucking tell you that your sisters ain't dead. They are very much your side of the veil. if that helps.
Somewhat. And something else? Through all this, it's been so draining, so crazy lately that Hestia fucking confessed her love to me, and I have not even said anything back. What kind of fucked up asshole am I? I didn't even know what to say to her at the moment. I still don't know what to say to her.
Try the fucking truth. It's easy for me. I'm already fucking dead. No one can kill me again. At least that's what I thought. And technically, no, that's everybody's way. I should be okay right here. But you only get one shot at it. And as long as you have the opportunity to have the night ahead of you, you still got a shot at it. Doesn't matter what you say, just fucking say something. Make it true. Because it don't fucking matter until it do.
Alright. I think I've said my piece.
Nah, you're just getting started. So same time next week, if you fucking survive. If I were you, I'd go to your house and not to the fucking shelter. Whatever that is that was heading over there. And like I said, it's a god with lowercase g. It's probably not gonna end well. I am sure that something or someone will fucking die.
Another disaster for us to run towards.
Or run away from if you're smart. But you guys are really smart. I've watched you long enough to know this.
Being smart didn't get us where we were.
They could have helped you stay there. And with that, as Lucio decides where he's going to leave to, as Hestia and Miriam stand eye to eye with the Seneschal of Chicago. And for those not politically savvy, the Seneschal is the strong right hand of the prince. And typically, if the prince were to fail or fall, typically the next prince. It's one of the reasons why most princes find seneschals that will take at least, 2 to 3 decades before they come into a power of their own. Because they are the closest person to the throne. They have to be loyal enough and smart enough, but not too smart and not overly loyal so that they feel betrayed. And it is a difficult position to ever appoint someone for. It's a difficult position to ever operate in, because they are, for lack of a better word, second only to the prince in regards to power in any particular city, especially in the gleaming jewel of the tower. And while that is in the offing, and while things shift and change, Sophia watches with this dark smile on her face as the other members of the sacrifice are pouring to St. Jerome's basement until the altar therein. And with two ghouls and two kindred. The deaths necessary happen in the blink of an eye. And right as the power is raising, she feels it too. Something heinous, something large, heading towards the shelter. Something dancing on the strings of power connecting the hub of the God Machine of Chicago with all of the other outlets. And being as close as she is to the shelter, Sophia feels it as it moves past her, right as the last life blinks out. And with power raised, deaths happening, and things preparing to change, I'm going to thank you all for a lovely episode, a lovely season, and I will see you guys next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Not all.
Not everyone.
This is the cliffhanger of all cliffhangers.